Welcome back, everyone, to episode 2. This
Yes.
is Sonjia, and co-hosting with me is Antonio.
Hello, everyone.
So, welcome back again, like I've already said.
Yes, we're
So,
back
woo!
with an
Um,
official episode.
for an official episode, we got the mic and the audio and everything situated finally, and so after our audio testing segment, we did have a little bit of a chuckle about Craigslist because that is how we met. And
Yes.
we both thought it would be great to kind of talk about a Craigslist cray.
Yes.
And so I decided I did look into some articles relating to Craigslist stories. And while trying to stay more on the weirder or odd than horror, I did come across an article from Board Panda, which is kind of like a BuzzFeed dojo. I think is it called
Oh.
Dodo or Dojo? I can't remember.
I think it's Dodo.
Dodo, right? So something
Yeah.
like that. So it's very similar to that kind of article.
Okay. So it is article
Hey.
versus like on YouTube, or do they do both?
Um, I can't properly answer that, but I do know. I don't know. Board Panda just popped up. It's boardpanda.com,
Okay.
and there are articles and it's like different kinds. Like there was like cat articles, and then I did find. So this was like the 30. What was it? The 30. Let me pull it up here really quick.
Okay.
The 30 of the funniest Craigslist ad posts. And I did find a few that I thought were really funny.
Okay.
So I thought I would go over them. There's only four. It's only four.
Well, it's good because I'm not very familiar with Craigslist. I've just gone up on there too. I've never bought or sold anything,
Oh,
but
me neither.
like when I've needed creative help, like I did get help a few years ago for creating a resume. I went on Craigslist for that.
Oh, nice.
Um, when I was doing a movie in business, I had someone create logos and design. So that's how I'm familiar with Craigslist.
Nice.
Yeah.
I don't really. I mean, I found my cat in my apartment like we kind of went over already in the audio testing segment, but I don't really use Craigslist anymore. Like I thought that was like a thing of the past, you know?
Like
'Cause
MySpace.
yes, exactly. Like I was quite surprised that people are still on it. And actually, so I found that there's another uh it's called Man Repeller, and she actually has like a blog and
Man Repeller.
Man Repeller. She's actually quite known. I think she's based out of New York. And I
Uh-huh.
actually came across like this morning I was looking over to see if I could find anything more juicy. And she in her article about Craigslist, she's like, I didn't know people still got on here because
Mm,
I did look into because I was trying to find something interesting to talk about.
yeah.
So I was like, do we do missing connections? Do I do weird stories? Like, what do I kind of chat about? And I didn't really find anything like super funny to even really share. But what I found interesting was that her article, because she did the digging
Yeah.
and she had asked, her social networking people to kind of comment to see if they had anything that they could come up with. And people still do use Craigslist and they still do use that missing connections section. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Well, a couple of things that pop into mind when you what you just brought up is first misconnections. Because I went on that like years ago when I first came across Craigslist because I'm like, what is that? That stands out.
Mm-hmm.
And I did click on it, and it was what I thought it would be is that people, I mean, it's a long shot, but maybe you saw someone like, hey, saw you at a laundromat wearing this, you know, call me, let's chat. Or hey, at a Starbucks, you paid for my coffee and, I was wearing this and you smiled at me, give me a call. and I clicked on Misconnections Now to see if there were any weird or funny posts, and it is very different from what that misconnection was years ago. Did you click on
Yeah,
it?
I did, and I was like, I think it's like a gay man hookup site,
Yeah, I mean,
which is fine. Totally
yeah,
embraced it, but I was kind of surprised. Like I didn't find anything that was really like worthy of like getting into like a topic of. And
no.
I was like, okay. And then I got onto the forums. I went on the forums,
Uh-huh.
and there's so many titles that you can choose. And um I I did click on a few because I was like, that just sounds really bizarre. And there was one that I swear to God, he had to have been on drugs to write what he wrote. But it was about, because now the killer hornets are here. The Asian killer hornets have arrived in America. So that was like the
Right.
headline. And then it went into something that just made absolutely no sense. And he like brought in the pandemic and the coronavirus and just clear, like none of the sentences completed. It was rant, like it was crazy. And I was like, wow, okay. I mean, that was quite bizarre. That was probably the only one worthy I remember that one. Um,
Yeah, because looking at these misconnections, and I have them open. I mean, most of them, because we're a G-rated podcast, and a lot of these are pretty obvious what they're looking for just by the title alone. I mean, a lot of these I wouldn't read, um, because of what the headline says. And I did click on one because it was innocent looking. I was like, oh, like this one here is like, oh, I miss my pool buddy. I'm like, oh, that's cool, Hollywood. And then it's like the ad says, want to be my new one? It's going to be a tough day by the pool. Straight guy looking for a girl to chill with. So that's one of the more innocent ones. A lot of them are very, very explicit.
yes,
So,
yes,
so
yes.
these are definitely very different from what they used to be. In terms of, hey,
I wore a red
looking
scarf and I saw you on your bicycle and you had these beautiful blue eyes and we looked in the eyes.
right, right, exactly, yes, and that's what I was used to seeing when I clicked that one time. I was like, oh, I'm like, I was thinking, well, what are the odds of that person who uses Craigslist and happens to come across your posting? So, um, here's another one I'd be afraid to click on. Right tool for the job.
I saw that one earlier.
Uh-huh, yeah. And it seems like anything goes on Craigslist because these are pretty explicit. Like this one, suck blank.
Right. I saw that one
It's
too.
like,
The only one I think I clicked on, it was a couple, they were like drive and smoke. And it was a couple and they're like, "Hey, we're looking for someone to come smoke weed with us and drive around LA. And we've decided to stop wearing clothes." And I was like, that's actually kind of funny. I wouldn't hang
oh,
out with them, but that was actually kind of cute.
hey, out of all of them, I finally found one. Here's one: Chevron gas station, Glendale. Was Sunday on Glen Oak Chevron gas station. I was in the cashier line. Beautiful African American woman came in, asked for a restroom, and after I was pumping gas, she came out staring at me. Um, I too wanted to say something to ask you, but I was shy.
Aw.
I think you were in a hurry. So, okay, one out of 50, 60 so far.
Right.
Um, but and you're right. You started off the podcast mentioning that we met on Craigslist. So for someone that really doesn't use Craigslist, but you have, I mean, I'm impressed you found your apartment on Craigslist because I would never have thought to use Craigslist for that. I would have thought of using like apartment.com, and there's several websites and apps you can use for that.
Well, that's what I
Um,
had started out with. And I was just like, I don't want to pay these prices, like I was like, I don't know, this, I felt like I could find something cheaper
Yeah.
off of Craigslist. And I thought, well, even more of maybe someone with a guest home where it's more independent.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And because I've looked before and all I saw were just really not the greatest ads if they were even real. So the
Yeah.
fact that I did find this apartment, I mean, it's like rent control and like they don't even use a computer system. Like this place is like old school. You know,
Right.
we don't, there's no emails or anything. It's all like they still print everything out and they post like one like at the main. So it's
Right.
like, okay, it's not the best up to date kind of place, but it's, you know, it's affordable living in Los Angeles. So I'm in
Yes.
the Palms, Culver City, Cheviot Hills area,
Yes.
and
Which can be really expensive. Well, pretty much most of LA can be really expensive.
exactly. But I needed to stay on the west, like closest to the west side, because you know, like
Right.
I work mainly in Beverly Hills, and you know, like, and I'm pretty much always in Santa Monica. You know, like that's the West Side, Marina Del Rey, West Hollywood. Like
Right.
that's
Right.
my area. So I needed something that I could, you know, like I don't want to spend a fortune. So I don't know, like it worked out. And this was like the second place I looked at.
Wow.
And I don't know, it worked out. It was easy. And I didn't even have to what was even better was my deposit was only $400. I lucked out. I mean, don't get me wrong, the building's ready to fall apart and the landlord, she's a little control freak, but other than that, you know, like my apartment itself is cute. I mean, it's a small studio. It's a studio
Right.
apartment, but I'm happy, I'm fine, you know.
Yes, you have a place you're close to work because you can find maybe some cheaper stuff, but you'd have to go way further out, which means, especially in Los Angeles, a heck of a commute to get to work.
Exactly. It takes me 7 minutes to get to the one of the
Ah,
hotels that I work at. 7 minutes. That is unheard of in an
the
LA pre-pandemic.
the yes, yes, because when I first started with pest control, I started out in Santa Monica where they have one of the locations, and it would take me a solid 45 minutes in traffic to get to work, and that's only because it was early in the morning. And then getting home would take me an hour and a half to 2 hours in traffic.
Wow.
And I tried taking the streets. Someone said, "Oh yeah, use Waze app." So I tried it, and oh my God, the streets were
Because
swamped. It was
everybody's
just
using Waze.
yes. And it was even worse because, people get anxious, get crazy on the streets. So people cut you off, people block intersections. And, so, I transferred out of there, fortunately, and got, to the Carson area where on the streets getting home was only 30 minutes compared to an hour and a half to
Oh,
2 hours.
good.
So definitely the apartment or Craigslist god smiled on you for you to find that place so close to work.
Yes.
So that's great.
That's how I feel. And trust me,
Hmm.
I'm very thankful. I'm very thankful.
Yes, that's great.
Yeah. And they were pet friendly. So
Oh, that's a big one too. Did they ask for more of a deposit
they
for that?
did. But then, okay,
Okay.
so this is totally off subject, but I'll explain. So I have four
Okay.
cats and
Yes.
I signed up saying I only had one. So I did the, 250 pet deposit. But then she
Mm.
kept finding out that I had more cats. So I did have to go and actually get an emotional support letter. And
Okay.
so here for anyone that's listening that's pet friendly and you're looking to either get an emotional support animal or if, like you're trying to be sly, either way, like to me, but the thing is like if I to me, it's like, well, they're my kids. I love them so much. I
Yes.
couldn't get rid of them because that would devastate me. So technically, like
Yes.
they really are my emotional support. Like, and especially now, I live alone and I don't have family here. I have some friends, but if I'm supposed to stay at home, like they have kept me upbeat. And I mean, I have to. They don't know
Yeah.
what's going on. They're like, we're still hungry and we still want to play, and I need you to comb my hair.
They're like, hey, you're home all the time
Yeah,
now.
they're having the best time of their life. Meanwhile, there's like a pandemic going on outside. But anyways, going back, I'm not trying to get too off track. So I went and got my emotional support letter, but I had to do a lot of research because she was coming back to me
Oh,
saying, well, you signed a piece of paper saying one pet. And I'm
yeah.
like, in the paperwork, it says legally now these cats are emotional support animals. They are not
Hmm.
pets anymore. So that's where that
Right.
cancels out the paper that I signed that I have one pet, and they cannot do anything. They cannot kick me out, and they cannot charge me a fee either. They cannot charge
Okay.
because this is by a doctor saying I need these animals for emotional support. So now it's like they're my medicine basically, and so they
Right.
cannot
Right.
legally do anything to kick me or my cats out.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
great. But did she try or to squeeze out more money for that?
No, she never did
Okay.
because
Oh,
I
that's great.
approached her with every information. And
Okay.
I did learn that she did. There was a couple that had a pit bull, and they were thinking about getting another dog. But the pit bull was an
Ah.
emotional support, and that was like the sweetest dog. It never like did anything. It never barked. I never heard that dog whatsoever.
Oh.
Meanwhile, the building next door had like one of those small yippy dogs. I'm like, oh my God, like I'm an animal rights activist if I have to be. Like I support all animals, but I wanted to murder that dog. It's not the dog, it's, the people that own it need to like
Yeah.
take, that's their responsibility. It's not the dog.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
neglect.
exactly. And
Mm.
I even for New Year's Eve last past New Year's Eve, I heard like a neighbor, shut that dog up. It was so funny. I'm like, that has been my
Oh, they
thought for the
snapped.
last 6 months.
Mm. They were like, enough.
Yes. But going back, so they made them leave because they wouldn't let them have a second dog.
Oh, wow.
But
Yeah.
these
Mm.
people didn't know their rights, and
Right.
they technically could have taken them to court because a
Mm.
judge is the only person that can say they have to leave, not the
Right.
landlord. And I saw her face kind of go, oops. And I'm like, yeah, don't mess with me, lady.
Well, I mean, it sounds like you have a great situation there. Hopefully, you can stay there as long as you want to stay there.
Exactly.
And
I mean, it's fine so far. And she just needed to be aware. She's an animal
yeah,
lover, so she's pro, but she's
yeah.
also like to the book by the rule. Or was it rule to the book with the rules? What? Oh, sorry. I don't know. The coffee's
I,
not
I,
kicking in.
no, I get
A
what you're saying.
stickler
I
for the
get,
rules, like done
yes,
by the book kind of
right.
person. And that's okay. She's doing her job,
Yeah,
but she kind of comes off a little abrasive, but
yeah.
so I just informed her, and I printed all the information out. Like I gave her every single piece of information, and I said, like, and what luckily an ex of mine, he is a property manager,
Uh-huh.
and so we're still kind of like civil, and like
Yeah.
when I have any questions or if anything arises, he doesn't mind me contacting him. So
Okay.
what he actually did was he helped me because we had already broken up, and actually that's why I moved in here. And
Mhm.
I told him like what was happening. And so he actually spoke to their, like, so he's the property manager at his apartment, and he contacted their lawyer to find out like everything that was legal.
Oh,
And so
okay.
he sent me all the information. So that's where I'm like, don't mess with me, lady, because I have like, I'm getting information from a lawyer too.
Yeah.
And it's not your lawyer, it's like another properties lawyer that's giving me like the rundown.
Wow.
So I kind of like, I have that as arsenal.
Yeah, that's
And
great.
yeah, and then I actually have another friend. He's retired now,
Hmm.
but he was a property manager too, and so he knows a lot of information too, and like he knows like all the like organizations and like just the legal bureau. That's I like pulling words out of thin air to like make it make sense. But so I have people that I can get actual facts and law
Yeah.
so don't mess with me, lady.
No, that's great. I had the opposite situation. I was living in Stockton at the time, and um, the girl I was dating at the time came to visit me. Gosh, this was years ago, but she had a cat at her place. She lived in San Jose, and one day I can't remember if she did it unannounced or she asked me, and I was kind of like, no, 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 you can't come over because I don't have pets. I love cats and dogs, but I didn't have any. To have them at my apartment, you had to leave a deposit, and so I can't remember if I relented finally or she just showed up with him, like in a little pet carrier. And like most cats, they wander. They're checking out a new environment, and the cat wound up wandering to the front window, behind the shades, behind the blinds,
Yep.
and supposedly it was like the very next day I get hit with a $350 deposit due for the cat. And I was like, what? I was like, and in the letter, it was like, yes, someone saw the cat and they described the cat in your window and you don't have that. And I said, well, it's not staying here. And, they were just visiting and, well, so sorry, you got to pay us. I was like, what?
No.
And yeah, and that sucks. So they dinged me for a 350 pet deposit, which I got
I don't.
back eventually when I
Okay.
left. Yeah. Because back then I was moving almost like once a year for this company that I worked for Ritz Camera. I mean, I was just going from city to city and eventually different states. But yeah, so I got the deposit back, but
I
I
wonder if
was,
that was legal.
yeah, I don't know. Back then I didn't even think of, looking um, at different resources or agencies to see if that was legal. I just paid it and knowing I would get it back. But that cat at that point, it was like, okay, I guess I can visit now. I don't have to worry
Right.
about not having a pet
Wow.
deposit. But that was
And how
that.
shady of that neighbor.
Yeah. Because especially back then, I'm working retail, so I'm working mornings, evenings, weekends. So I really didn't get a chance to mingle or know any neighbors. I definitely didn't get a chance to piss off anyone because all of our parking spots, thankfully, this was a building where everyone had designated parking spots.
Oh.
So it's not like it was a pretty big building in Stockton. So it's not like I would park in someone else's spot or anything. So, I don't know that I could have. The only thing I thought of was that maybe a maintenance person saw
But still, like, to me, it's almost like either they don't know how to mind their own business.
it.
Why would they care so much?
Maybe they got a kickback. Like for every pet that you see and we find them, you get $20. I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah,
That's still like, wow.
yeah,
People need
I
to
don't
do
know.
stuff sometime. Like go work. You need a project to fulfill.
So let me ask you, because before
Mhm.
we went up on this tangent too, that I was getting us to go down, because you also mentioned that you never go on Craigslist. And when I
No.
posted this ad for Podcaster and Crime Wanted, I was trying to figure out where to post it because it was, when you're posting an ad, um, it predetermines, it gives you a list of different options that you can choose from, whether it's long-term job or short-term, pay or no pay. But really, it was very difficult deciding where to go because it wasn't like a paint gig, and so I wound up putting it, I believe, in the talent
Was it that? Yeah, I can't
category.
remember. There's like three things that I look at.
Okay.
And
Ah,
so the only reason why I started looking on Craigslist is okay, so my best friend is 63 and she actually still goes on Craigslist and looks at like the I think it's talent, creative,
ah,
and gigs or something like
yes.
so those are kind of like the three that I kind of look at.
Okay.
Because sometimes I don't know, like I have seen some pretty interesting things on there and
Yes.
they're it either didn't align date wise or like but it was
Right.
there were some really interesting things and I thought you know what now's the time to kind of see if anything would come up
Right.
and so I have been looking on those three
Okay.
and I don't know for some reason it's like I'm kind of weird. Like I wanna look like I see all these like oh for like a commercial or for an ad like
Yes.
model or
Yes.
something like that. I'm like I could do that, but then I read it and then I freak out. I'm like I can't do it. Own personal issues, okay, everybody. Um, but I don't know. And like I said, I thought that's when I started looking. Well, maybe if I just look for a co-host, like I don't mind being a co-host
Right.
with someone that might have some experience, because then
Yes.
I'm like, then I'm not feeling overwhelmed because they're so far beyond. Because then, like, I don't know, I felt like if we're both kind of on the same level as far as like learning
Hmm.
and putting together, it would be more of a, I don't know, it would just blend a little bit better.
Yeah.
And back when I was thinking about getting into fashion, I read this book called The Glitter Plan. It was about Juicy Couture. I don't know if you remember, like everyone's asses said juicy,
Oh, yeah. That
right?
was
Do you remember that?
everywhere. Yes.
Everywhere. Well, last year, I think, or the last year or a year and a half ago, I read that book and I loved it. It was basically the two girls, Pamela and Galila. I don't know. I can read it, but I've never tried to pronounce it before. Anyways, they basically told their story and what they have learned, and they kind of said like there was a little segment that they didn't know what they were doing.
Wait,
They
and who are
just
they?
did it.
That did they?
Juicy Couture, the people, the two ladies that started
Oh, they're
Juicy
the founders.
Couture, well, they ended up selling it
Oh, okay.
later on,
Hmm.
um, but they're the ones that made it, like put it
Oh,
together.
okay.
And they said like their early days was they came up and they originally it was actually Pea in the Pod, I think, which is another pretty big brand, but that was about maternity wear.
Okay. Yes, I've heard of
And
that.
so they were the ones that created maternity jeans because they would go to like Goodwill and get jeans and then like cut just the right way
Wow.
so that they could put material on for pregnant women so they still looked cute in jeans instead of
Right.
like because I guess like back then it was like a bunch of just you put a bag on your body when you're pregnant and one of them was pregnant and they didn't want to look like a bag, they actually
Yeah.
still wanted to look normal, and
Yeah.
that's how that started. And they said that so they did that, they did all this work. Their label was a Sharpie marker that they had like wrote on a piece of material and sewed it in, and they basically went
Wow.
around and like tried on their own clothes in front of them and people would buy. But anyways,
Wow.
one of the things that they had said is when they started working, I can't remember if it was like an accounting, I think it was an accounting firm or something.
Hmm.
So this accounting firm was like high end, like way like business knowledge.
Right.
And they were still small and they didn't know what they were doing financially.
Okay.
And the accounting firm never really taught them anything or how to like think about their own, like what they're spending,
Mm,
how to budget and stuff like that.
yeah.
So they ended up not really making a whole lot of money. And then
Mm,
they said what you have to learn is like you have to bring on board people that are still kind of like, if you're new, like you're yearning and craving
yes.
to do the work. And it might not always be like the high payout, but you're like at that eager point where you're willing to put in more time.
Right.
And
Right.
so they had to align with this a different accounting firm that was still like, they weren't as big of an accounting firm, but yet they actually sat down with them and helped them think about numbers.
They were hungry.
They were hungry. And so that's what they had always said is you align with someone. And that's even like with law of attraction. So, like I've been really focusing on like the last couple years, like what is like people are frequencies, mindset, thought is a frequency, vibration. And, like when you're in discord, it's not syncing, but when
Mm,
you're in a similar vibration with another person, being, like anything else, you're in alignment. And so it's going to flow more smooth, just like
mm.
any type of like sound wave vibration, no
Oh,
matter what
okay.
it is. So I don't know, like to me, that's what I kind of kept in mind. And so when I came across your post, I was like, this is perfect because I don't really know much about a podcast at all. I've wanted to put one together
Right.
and I don't have any training.
Right.
And so I don't know. And then here we are, and it's actually going really well. My sister says, like, we sound pretty natural and, it's fun. And I don't know, like, it just seems to be working out. And it's like the same with the alignment with the apartment. Like, it just was meant
Right.
to be. So, yeah.
Well, thank you for that. Because yeah, I was kind of wondering who I would attract, and so in terms of Craigslist, um, whenever I post something, I try to give as much information as possible, um, and honest. So there's no, hey, well, you told me this, or not getting the appropriate reply that you want, a response to an ad because you come across as shady or cray because you put in the wrong detail or you've left out details.
Right.
And
I,
mhm,
yeah, I think that's kind of what, like, I read it. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but I don't know. It seemed legit. It was very honest.
good.
And I remember trying to reply back thinking like, well, I already know you probably have gotten like 50 replies and some of them are probably going to be ridiculous. And I just try to be as honest back as possible. And,
Right.
I don't know. And it's 50-50 at that point.
Well, I when I looked at the responses to the podcaster and crime wanted post I put up, um, I just kind of started reading them, and immediately, the ones that I thought were bogus or trolls, I just discarded those. But there was one or two where they were like, "Oh, I've done voiceovers, and I've done," and they included a headshot. Here's my IMD link, and I was like, "Did you read my post? Did you see? Did you see there is no money involved?" I was shocked by having I think it was only two people that replied that do voiceover work, and I thought, wow, I wouldn't feel comfortable with someone like that, only because I'm just getting started in this. I'm doing this for fun. Would I like it to go somewhere further eventually? Of course. I'm enjoying it, but I felt like there would be a definitely almost too much of a difference between someone that's just starting out and maybe someone that's already at that level doing voiceover work, who would want to do this, who would want to help collaborate in the episode, who'd be okay. Like you and I have been, I think, what has it been, 3 weeks trying to figure out the sound on this thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I think at our levels, it works great for us.
Yes, no, I thought it just was perfect. And that's I did see the no pay, and that's kind of what took the pressure off of me
Yeah.
because I was like, I've never done anything before.
Yeah, I would have loved for it to be a paying gig for both of us, but um,
Eventually, you never know.
yes, yes. And I did mention that, we would be doing this remotely, so it was very clear, hey, remotely, you do it where you are, and I do it where I am.
Right.
Not like some of these
That was
misconnections.
another thing. I'm like, it won't turn out to be a Craigslist horror story.
Exactly.
you, the more you're into your skill in your line of work, like, so I've been doing mine, what, 12 years?
Wow, 12 years.
12 years.
Wow.
I mean, I'm kind of a diva. And I work with other massage therapists that have been doing it even longer, and they're
Mhm.
even more of a diva. Because I'm not going to do certain things. I've gotten to the point where I know what my worth is.
Yeah.
And like I turned down, so right before this all happened, I have been looking for, to me, I don't like to put all my eggs in one basket,
Yeah.
is how, and luckily with my type of profession, I can do that.
Okay, great.
So I was looking for just other outlets, agents to kind of work for.
Okay.
And I came across, they were brand new. They were trying to start a new kind of platform. It was almost a little shady for me,
Mm,
kind of weird. I was like, but I'll check it out. Why not? They reached out to me because
mm.
I have my on LinkedIn. I have my profile somewhat set up.
Right.
So he came and reached out to me, and I met with him a couple times.
In person?
And I did meet with him. I met with him at the location because they were actually I kind of feel bad for them right now because the place wasn't even completely built. Like when we met, it was at the place. It was under construction. It was looking to be
Oh,
finished. I think at the end of March is
okay.
when they were supposed to launch. So now I
Ah,
feel really bad for them.
yeah.
And what it was is like they wanted to provide yoga, massage services, the cryotherapy, infrared therapy, and like the floating lab. So it was
Oh,
through a membership. Like you had to pay a membership.
okay.
And I was like, all right, well, let me see, let me check it out. And it was going to be less pay,
Mm,
but
what?
I was like, you know what? I'm so tired. Like I love, and I'm so grateful for the luxury hotels that I work for, but
Yeah.
you have to be so, I mean, they just drill the 5-star standards in your head, and
Mm,
you have to be so turned on all the time
right.
that it can be a little draining sometimes. And
Yes.
so I thought a little less pay, but I can kind of be a little bit like, I don't have to like be so
Right,
perfect.
you're more relaxed.
Exactly. But the thing was, they wanted you to stay there all day,
Mm.
even if it wasn't busy. And then I read one of the offer letter. They sent me an offer letter and it says pick up a mop. And I was like, that was the instant. I'm like, no, I'm not mopping floors. I didn't pay $13,000 to go to school to mop floors.
Right. Ah,
Sorry.
right.
Not at this point when I've never done that. I'm not going to start doing that now. I felt a little bit like a diva at that moment. But I also like knew that's my worth. I'm like,
Yes.
like I'm here to do massage, not clean.
Right. Yep.
Like I'll clean my room, I'll do the maintenance that's needed, but at this point I'm not going to do that.
Right.
And I explained to him, I said, and I politely declined, and I said, this would have been a great opportunity for me when I was first starting out
Yeah.
learning and like getting my foot in the door, but not when I'm going to be taking less pay and be doing more work. That doesn't make sense. As a business person, that does not make sense.
Right.
Sorry. you know,
Yeah.
but I said, please keep in touch. Like, I believe in what you're doing. And if I come across any people that I think would be, a great fit, I'll send them your way. And then the pandemic happened, and I don't think they've even opened up. So I was like, oops.
Right.
But
Right.
anyways, yeah. So that's where I was like, like it is different, and like right now, especially with everything happening, people are kind of desperate for jobs. Like people are willing to work at this point.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, let me ask you this because that just kind of popped into my head, and I thought about it like a week ago as we were talking about as we were planning these episodes. But have you thought about, or have the um, hotels that you work with kind of started to reach out to you as far as what the future will look like? Because, for example, when the barber, my shaggy hair, I'm kind of growing a little bit of a mullet, curly mullet. I'm kind of getting used to it, and I'm like, well, you know what? I'm going to keep rocking this thing now, and I'm thinking, if my barber does open up eventually in a month, I may not go back right away just because he may have a mask on, but they're right over you. As a guy, when you get a haircut at a barber, they're kind of all around you. Um, but
Yeah, it all depends. Like, is the air circulation
right.
good? There's so much, like, it's really hard to say.
Well, for your line
Be-
of work, for example, would you be able to wear gloves? Would that get in the way? Because I've worn some of those gloves and they tear easily.
Um, well, I'm using oil and lotion, so
Okay.
it's not gonna be, I don't think, I have had to wear gloves. Like if I've cut my finger and I have a band-aid on, I
Yeah.
have to wear a glove on my hand.
Oh,
It
okay.
doesn't feel the same though. It
Right.
feels completely different because I've had people work on me with gloves
Yeah.
and it doesn't feel the same.
Hmm.
But here's the thing, like if I need to get deeper, I have to use my elbow and you can't put a glove on your elbow. I think it's more, and then from like everything, it's more of the breathing.
Right.
That's more of what it is. And like the thing is, like a droplet can go in your eye. So the masks, I mean, like masks aren't covering your
Mm-hmm.
eyes. So I don't know. It's really tricky at this point. And because even if we both wear masks, I don't know. Like how, it's too tricky. I think we're gonna absolutely be one of the last
Yeah.
people to go back to work, even if we are allowed, because I mean it's going to change the game.
Yeah.
It's changing the game for me
Mm-hmm.
because we're like legally we're not allowed
Right.
at all. Like there's more, it's even more so than like the 6 feet. Like that's just who's to say? But I know the hotels are opening up for people to start staying there. And I do know, like, I had a friend that did go and stay at one of the hotels. Here's what's funny. They asked me if I would come massage. And I says, well, I can't massage there because I'm an employee there. And even prior to pandemic, protocol is I have to be approved by the director and manager on duty for me to come onto the premises
Mm.
when I'm not working. So I'm like, there would be this whole
Really?
thing. Yes.
So if you just wanted to stay there as a guest, would you need their
I have to go through paperwork and I need approval.
what? Okay.
Yeah.
What's the reason behind that?
Um, because I'm an employee. They're just,
Oh,
like, um,
okay.
yeah, there's just like legal
Okay, that's
things.
just part of working
It's
there.
it's usually with, yeah, like I couldn't go and eat at the restaurant. I have to get permission first.
Okay. Okay.
And I have, so one of the hotels has a sister location, and I'm not even allowed on the sister location's premises without permission. Like I
Oh,
have to have the proper documents to be
okay.
allowed back on. And I told him, I'm like, well, first of all, I'm not supposed to be massaging right now anyways.
Right.
And second, like I can't even, like and they all know me there. Like, I can't miss the red hair. I'm a tall redhead. Can't miss me. And there's no way I can disguise myself. Because
Right.
I'm like friends with, like I'm a friend, like I think I talk to everybody. So everybody knows who I am. So
Right.
I couldn't even get through the door, without someone stopping me like, what are you doing?
Right.
You know? So, and then to do massage, then it's like I'm taking away business from there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like there's all kinds of angles of why that would be just unacceptable.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, but I do know that they are letting people back in.
Okay.
But that's, what we can go into then, because you had one of your bullet points was about kind of what we want to do as far as like what's opening up, like getting things opened up and what we're excited about.
Yeah. Well, again, for me, and I've thought about it some more, I don't think there's anything right now that I terribly miss. Actually, there is. Actually, there is one place that I do actually miss, which is weird for me because again, I just came back to work the day after they announced that the stay-at-home order was happening and that only essential businesses could be open. That's when I just came back to work because I was gone for a year from hurting my knee. I had a torn meniscus, which I finally had surgery on in January. But the whole time that I was before that whole year, over a year, I wasn't doing anything. I was very stationary. And so I did gain some weight. And so I was thinking, okay, as soon as this is over, we're going to start going to the gym. So that's actually what I was looking forward to, was to start going back to get into better shape, um, to do that. And I felt it the first like 2, 3 weeks at my job, having to wear that respirator, which has two charcoal filters attached to it. You kind of get this Darth Vader effect going, but it really restricts your breathing. And for those first couple of weeks using that, even on one inspection, which can be an hour and a half to 2 hours, I was getting kind of headachy afterwards, and I was getting really tired. And so now it's gotten a lot better. Now I can wear that pretty much for most of the day, and I'm okay. I'm not headachy or as exhausted. But I was like, oh man, that is the one thing I actually would miss, or have or do miss, is the gym, to use like their elliptical and some other stuff. But once it opens, which I can't see them opening up anytime soon.
No.
So I'm finding other things to try and exercise and build my cardio up and stretch. I'm actually stretching now, which I haven't done in a long time. And that helps me because a lot of times you have to squeeze into a crawl space area, especially in LA where there's a lot of older homes and they have the access through a kitchen cabinet or a closet. So you have to kind of be a little bit limber and or cat-like to get into an attic access. So it helps to be limber and stretch because then you're not hurting afterwards. You're not too sore.
Right.
So I think for me, that's what I miss. But once they reopen, like if they announce that they're going to open up the gyms next month, I wouldn't go.
Yeah, I'd be a little hesitant because, here's the thing. It's going to be a surge. So
Yes.
everybody's going to be there.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, for me, I don't like to be around a bunch of people normally.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, it just freaks me out, especially when I'm working out. I'm like, okay, I might be more wimpy, so just leave me alone and I'm gonna do it my way. And I don't want people looking at me. And yeah, I don't know. Luckily, I have a little gym in my apartment complex. We're not allowed to use it right now,
Okay, right.
but I've taken advantage of that. And then I don't know, like YouTube is really a wonderful platform, and I have found so many different. There's a channel called Psychic Truth,
Okay.
and I think that it's more like I see more females on there than anything, but there's like a Pilates, people doing Pilates, yoga. There's all kinds
Mm,
of workouts
okay.
on there, and like meditation and stuff like that too. And
Okay.
I've found some really great videos. So I work out at home,
Yeah.
and then, I've been work, like I've been trying to at least go outside and walk.
Yes.
I'm a hiker, so I mean, I like my hiking, and that's one thing that I was actually really excited about was going hiking. But and the beach. Oh my gosh, I was so excited that we can go to the beach. And but I was kind of hesitant. I know, like the first day, like that's, you just know, like everybody's gonna be there,
Right.
and even in general, I don't, like, I'll avoid the beach on the weekends because that's when everybody else is there.
Yes.
I don't like I don't do shopping. I really don't even go get a cup of coffee on the weekends because I just can't deal with it. And it's just like, no, that doesn't make sense. So I mean, I waited, and then the beach that I went to, so I went, like 2 days ago, and I went more towards Sunset, and over by East Channel Road, there's free parking, and that's, I'm like, I hope not everybody takes that. Like, it's my secret spot.
Everyone, you heard it here.
And I was surprised there were quite a few people out.
Yeah.
But there was, I mean, there's a huge sign saying what you can do, what you can't do.
Really?
Yes.
Oh.
So if you park on East Channel Road, you have to walk. There's an underpass because the one PCH goes, like, that's the main street. So you have to walk underneath it to get to the beach.
Okay.
It's right by Patrick's Roadhouse. It's there in the Palisades kind of area, right before, like, the Palisades area.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of people not wearing masks.
Yeah.
I will say there was not a lot of mask wearers. And but then there were some, and I saw, like, I think he was like a homeless guy. He was totally, like, laying in the sand. And I was like, oh, you're not supposed to be doing that.
Right.
Yes. But for the most part, people were social distancing. People really weren't coming too close to others. That's one thing I have seen, is people have been very respectful of others' space. Okay. Except for when I'm driving, pedestrians seem to, like, not care anymore.
Yeah.
My light turned green. I start to go, and a lady just started walking across the street. I'm like, woman, it says don't walk. Like, right. I have the green light, and she just started walking. Like, she was on the other side of the intersection. I was like, wow. And I've had people just walk out. Same scenario. They just walk out in front of me, and my light is green.
Right, right.
And I'm like, what has gotten into people? People are just so stir crazy, and they gotta go, man. They just gotta go. Another point that I kind of wanted to talk about is when the restaurants reopen.
Right.
And I did want to share, because I came across a few, like, funny little, because I actually started reading the guidelines of, like, well, how would a restaurant reopen?
Right.
And I mean, a place has to, I mean, people are going to have to be 6 feet away. Like, the party or group of people, like, they can be together, but that group has to be 6 feet. Like, the tables have to be 6 feet away from each other.
Right.
Unless there's a barrier. So it's, you'd either have to remove tables, but if there's some restaurants that you can't take tables out because they're built into the building.
Right.
So they would have to provide some sort of barrier.
Okay.
And so I came across, like, 3 little cute stories, and I thought I would share them. So there is a cafe in Germany that opened up its patios to patrons who were willing to put on hats with foam noodles extending out from them to encourage distance. And I was talking to my sister about that last night. So we're like, that would be really annoying. Like, you're going to have, especially if you have a few cocktails, like, how?
Oh, I can imagine.
Kind of weird. But I think it would be funny too. Like, people are going to have fun.
Now,
And
now, when you
then
say
there's an
foam noodles, is that like those pool, like the noodle things that you use in the pool?
I think so. And I was like, for 6 feet, like for a hat for 6 feet,
Wow.
that's like, I don't know, how's that gonna work?
Yeah, that's a double no for me to have to
Yeah,
wear
I'm like, I
something on
no,
your
I'm good.
head.
I'm good. And
Okay.
then there was another one that one fine dining restaurant outside of Washington, D.C. will open with 50% seating. The other 50% of its tables will be taken up by mannequins dressed in 1940s era attire. And I thought that sounded so cute. And actually, this morning, because I was, doing a little more research before the show,
Yeah.
I actually saw a picture. There was off another article platform in like a different, I guess, magazine or whatever page. They actually had a picture, and it was really cute. And it was like these really like the mannequins were sitting down, and like it looked like they were having a conversation with each other. Like one's like their hand is on a cup of tea or something, and they
Right.
had like they were all dressed up. It was actually really cute, and I thought that is fun. And then in North Canton, Ohio, breakfast joint. I think it's the Citrus Cactus or something like that. That's what it was called.
Okay.
Sorry, I might have screwed that name up. But their method of protecting its patrons from the spread of the COVID-19 were shower curtains. And so they put up
Huh.
they put up rods, and they put up like clear shower curtains that encase the dining, like that each individual dining space. And then they said that they would take them down after each party was finished and
Oh
put up
my.
fresh ones.
That sounds like a lot of
And
work.
I know, but here's the thing. So part of the guidelines, as I was reading, it's definitely going to be way more stressful for everyone involved, because I read nothing is allowed out on the table. Like, tables have to be covered and then disposed of after people are done eating.
Yeah.
No utensils. Every utensil has to be pre-rolled. Like nothing is allowed out. No condiments. There's not allowed. Like nothing can be shared. And they said also, there's no. You can't share food with anybody,
Huh.
even in your like
Huh.
party. I guess like you're the person next to you. You're not allowed to have like sharing food.
But I would think that kind of doesn't make sense to me, only because usually, right, if you're following the physical distancing and all the requirements and recommendations, you're only going to go dining with someone that lives with you, right?
You would think that, but who knows? I'm sure people, that's who knows. But what if you have a family of 6 or 7?
Right.
If you have a big family.
That's true.
I was thinking about that too, because, like parents sometimes order a big thing and then you share like a salad with or like pasta, like, what
Yes.
is it, buco de pepes or
Right.
something?
Yes,
It's
that's
like
what I just thought of.
the entrees are these massive bowls of pasta, and it's meant and encouraged for sharing.
Oh yeah, they bring stuff out. It's like a trough. It's just huge.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I just thought that those were cute little articles on that. And I did find it fascinating. They said, like, no condiments are allowed out. Everything has to be like I guess, I don't know. But then that's going to become so wasteful.
Yeah.
Ew. Like, it's going to be really tricky to maneuver through all this. Mm-hmm.
How does a break sound? Do you want to take a quick break?
Yeah, let's take a quick break.
Okay, let's take a break and then we'll be back.
And we're back.
Hey, we're back. Welcome back to The Therapist and the Inspector.
I like it.
I
think that should be our what's our title?
Our podcast name? Or podcast time? Yeah, I was thinking about that because I've been meaning to reach back out to you and kind of say, hey, we need to come up with a title here. And that would be our next assignment. But I'm thinking, well, The Therapist and the Inspector, I like it, but it does also have a connotation of a seedy romance novel.
That is true.
The Therapist and the Inspector. But I
What's
like the
the
title right off. Yeah.
exterminator?
Because because I was thinking, like you said, we really don't have one topic that we're going to stick to. We're going to talk about everything and everything.
Right.
And I was looking at titles like "Life Happens," and I was amazed. I did check on Anchor how many people have named their podcast "Life Happens."
Interesting.
Yes.
Well, the thing is, right now, especially like on Instagram, it's all about lifestyle. Let me document it all. I'm famous
Right.
influencer,
Right.
lifestyle influencer. So
Yes.
that would make sense. Like that's like the hot,
Right.
what's it called? SEO?
Right. Yes. Yes. And boy, I tell you, we could do a whole segment or a whole show, I think, you and I, just on influencer and what that is. And that's something very
Episode
fascinating.
3. Episode
Yes.
3. Okay.
That
I
sounds
like
good.
this.
That sounds good. Okay. So we're back from the break, and you have some stories to share from us or with us from are they from the Board Panda?
Yes, this is
Okay.
from the Board Panda. And of course, I logged myself out of that section. So give me one moment to get back onto that page. Let's see. Because while we were on break, because we're also going to talk about what not to do. So I quickly kind of Googled what I could find on that. So it took me off my funny page. So let me find it here. So my friend sent me a link for, I'm not a model, like Victoria's Secret model or anything like that. Like I don't really even get paid, but I have done some modeling in the past. I've done a little runway.
Okay.
And right now, I mainly only work with friends because it's such a shady business. And,
Yes.
like I want to do it more for fun, anyways.
Right.
So my friend sent me a Craigslist ad, and it was right at the beginning of the lockdown. And they were like legit. There was so much information that they gave that I was like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
this actually sounds really good. And so, like I chatted with them a little bit, but then they asked me, they're like, we don't want your bank number, but we just want your bank name. I'm like, well, why would you need my bank name?
Right.
And I never responded after that because I was that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Like,
Total shady
why?
right there. Right.
And they were like straight up. I mean, it was really pretty clever and very
Mm,
detailed and very close to being legit.
right.
But it was that one little thing that I was like, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
So I stopped immediately talking with them.
I think that was smart.
Yeah, of course, because it's like, by now it's like that. I don't know. Like, you don't need my bank. Why would you need my bank name? Even it's just a name. Like, that doesn't make sense.
Right.
Usually, you give me a check, and it doesn't matter. Like, I'm gonna cash it
Right.
wherever I want. So for you to
Mm-hmm.
ask for my bank name, why?
Now, would you be comfortable? Because again, we've gotten really high tech. I mean, so high tech that you and I are recording a podcast in our own homes. How about getting paid through some different apps out there? Like I've sent money via PayPal before to people, though not for Craigslist. I have paid people for Craigslist services, like I said, and by services I mean artistic. I mean like the um, drawings I wanted, the logos and things like that. I paid through PayPal.
Well,
Um,
that is a more because PayPal takes a percentage.
yeah.
So that seems to me to be a little bit more legit.
Right. So if someone said, "Hey, we'll pay you with PayPal," you'd be more comfortable with
I
that.
would be more comfortable, but you
You'd be
still
okay
have
with
to be
that.
wary because
Right.
PayPal is not like it depends. Like if you're buying something off of somebody and you
Yeah.
paid them, they still got their money. It
Mm-hmm.
might be a little bit less, but maybe they're upcharging because they know PayPal. Like who knows? But it still can be shady. But I feel
Yeah.
like it's a safer. Like they can't really hack into your bank account through PayPal.
Right.
You know?
And that's why I've used them because they're connected to my eBay. So when I bought and sold on eBay, I use PayPal. And
Yeah.
um,
I mean,
again,
oh, go
uh-huh.
ahead. I was gonna say I use Etsy quite a bit for
Yes.
stuff, and I pay through PayPal.
Oh, well, see, I use Etsy, and because now Apple Pay is becoming slowly, because gosh, Apple Pay was introduced years ago,
Uh-huh.
and it's slowly like there's a lot of pushback against PayPal by, you know, merchants, the people that right now are doing credit card transactions. They're pushing back. They're not adding PayPal, I mean, Apple Pay to their um, roster of payment methods that they accept, which I understand, it's a competitor, but at least through like Etsy and paying on my iPad or iPhone, that is an option that pops up that I can pay with Apple Pay, and I do because it supposedly encrypts your information, and you can assign a credit card or a debit card, very similar to PayPal.
Mm.
And some websites accept Apple Pay, but it's very slow. But that's what I use with as many sites as possible for that reason.
Mm. Yeah, I don't know. That's the whole thing now, even like with the cryptocurrency, and I'm not a finance person, so don't ask me numbers. I can't even go there. Not that kind of person. Glitter, yes, we can talk about glitter all day. But numbers, forget it. But I have kind of been up, like my accountant talks to me. I have an accountant, and like he's talking to me, explaining. He goes into detail, draws little diagrams, blah 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 blah. And I'm still like, yeah, I got it. And as soon as I walk out, I'm like, wait, what did he say? And I
Right.
tried, like I've tried, but anyways, like that's the thing is, it's starting to get to the point, because now they're just printing money, and the value of the dollar is not what it used to be.
Right.
And so I also even saw that on one of my like two of my coastal rides, I went up the coast on PCH and ended up in Oxnard, and they have a Chick-fil-A there. So I was like, you know what? I don't really normally eat fast food. And for some reason, we were talking about Chick-fil-A the other day, and I was like, I'm gonna get myself a Chick-fil-A. But when I was in the drive-through area, because that's all it is right now,
Right. Right.
there was a sign that says if you pay with credit card or Apple Pay, it will be faster.
Oh.
And I was like, that's interesting.
Huh.
And there's so much of that conspiracy theory and talk that we're gonna basically be, like there's not gonna be money anymore. It's gonna be
Right.
like this whole
Cashless.
different type of money
Right.
uh, situation. And I was thinking that is really interesting. And I had something else in my head and it just went out the window. I was just having this conversation with somebody about, not, there was a commercial a couple years back, and I think it was for a bank. And it was this commercial where like they're in a cafe or something, and like people are ordering their coffee, and they're doing this
Right.
little dance. It was like a musical setup, almost like a Broadway. It was beautifully choreographed, sweet, beautiful flowing music. And
Yeah.
everyone's like, they would do this spin, and their credit card would swipe through the machine, and it just kept the flow going. And then the one person that uses cash, everything just stops. The music stops, the dancing stops, and everyone's like, and just like the slow coin, here's your 5 cents, 10 cents. And then as soon as that person got out of line, it totally like the flow went back. And it's like, that is interesting. They're prepping us.
Yeah.
That was the connection.
Smart commercial. I like that.
Yeah, it was a couple years. You know what? I'm gonna have to Google that. I'll try to Google that and find it. Yeah, I thought that was quite interesting. And I mean, I use Venmo a lot, but that's with people like my friends and family
Right.
and my psychic. She's more of like my friend and like counselor. Like I've known her for so many years now, since like 2013, I think. So she knows. It's more of
Yes.
like she just gives me advice. She's like the the unbiased friend that I have, and like
Ah,
it's not necessarily, I don't know. She is the psychic, but she also gives more like self-empowering advice on how to handle situations, or because I used to, I'm upset and or like something, and it's more that. And she actually
yeah.
is certified in like life coaching and like a little bit
Oh,
of counseling as well too. She's like the spiritual counselor, you know. I guess she'd be like my spiritual counselor, I should say. That sounds more appropriate.
oh, it sounds like a great guru to have.
Yeah, oh no, she's great. And she lives in Oklahoma, and
Oh my.
she comes out once or twice a year to California. And I actually
Okay.
go see her, and it's great. Like we've actually become friends too,
Mm,
like we text like, "Hey, how you doing?" Like, and even through the pandemic, we're like, "Hey, how you holding up?"
yeah.
We become friends over the years. But we use PayPal or Venmo, I'm sorry. Venmo.
Well, that sounds more legit because I remember years ago, the Psychic Friends Network, those commercials were all over
Oh,
TV, and it
yeah, I
was,
remember that. Miss
yeah,
Cleo.
Dionne Warwick was a big host, and but there, and I think eventually, I think maybe they got hit with a lawsuit, and I don't know if it was before or after they started posting like for entertainment purposes only.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Well, there's a
um,
lot. That's a big scam industry too. Huge.
yes,
That's why I'm like, But she actually gives, I think to me, it's more she gives sound advice as far as
yes,
like, she's like, you gotta, she, like gets my spirits up, like my mental clarity up. And she's like, focus on this, you know, she gives me, it's more of like a spiritual guru is what I seriously feel like it is,
that's
go
great.
meditate on this, go think on this, like you have to do what's best for you.
Yeah.
So it's more uh that, whereas like your Miss Cleo 1-800 call now.
Well, and kind of going up on another tangent, but the Latino community is really rife with that, but it's a little bit worse because there the advisors definitely bill themselves as spiritual advisors, but more in the terms of there is a belief in some in the Latino community of things similar to witchcraft, like someone could put a curse on you and now you're
Right.
cursed and that's why you're sick.
Santeria. I know about that.
Yes, yes. And so, you know, a lot of times I may just happen to come across a Spanish radio commercial, and it's someone like that saying, do you want to get your lover back? Did someone curse you? Call us and we'll tell you who cursed you. We'll help you get that love back. And I'm like, oh my God. And unfortunately, um, I was exposed through that. Um, and these people, when you go to them, like they actually, some of them have actual little store shops in the LA area where you
Uh-huh.
go and see them, and it's just like a little office where they have a waiting area and then their office where they bring you in to talk, and they say, okay, great, you know what, I'll take care of this, I'm authorized to do this, it'll cost you $500.
What?
Yes, and that's where really it makes it worse because now they're trying to get these big sums of money to supposedly get rid of this curse, to um,
No.
yeah, to tell you who's doing this or to bring you good fortune. I'm like, man, that's just terrible that these people are allowed to be on the radio and TV doing this. So
I think they can get shut down though. If people would complain, they would get shut down, like as a bad business or something. Like if you go to the
yeah,
Better
yeah,
Business Bureau, because
that would be
that's
awesome because
wrong.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, there's one thing like if they're there to kind of help you build your own
right,
spiritual strength, if that's your thing,
right,
to guide, like that's is if it's not, because if they're putting you to do your own inner work and help you build yourself, that's one thing. But
right.
to like, it's like a business scam. I had a woman try to do that to me, and I was like, nah, I'm good, because I don't need to pay you that kind of money when I can just go read some books myself, and go to the
Right.
beach and like get my head clear from being in
Yeah.
nature. Like that's more of where that comes from,
Yeah.
you know. That is crazy though. Wow. I remember all that
Hmm.
kind of stuff. Anyway,
Well, I definitely took us off on a tangent
I
there. That was
know.
story number one.
Yeah, I never even got into my Craigslist. Okay, back to Craigslist. The cray is getting really cray here. Okay. So, this is one of the ads that I came across and it's the things you find on Craigslist off of boardpanda.com.
Okay.
And Kevin and his timeout tank. So, there's a picture of a small fish tank with some really pretty pebbles and a fish inside. And so
Okay.
this is what it says. It reads, recently upgraded my tank and have this nice little 10-gallon for sale. The tank comes with rocks, no skinny dipping sign, hood, light, and Kevin. Kevin is a jerk. I'll tell you that up front. He's been in this timeout tank for a few days now since he apparently has a deep-seated prejudice against the goldfish. He doesn't seem to have a problem with the other mollies, I don't know this one, platies, guppies, or even the crazy loach. But he's got it out for the goldfish. And let's be fair, they were here since the tank began. So Kevin's got to go. Asking $15 for Kevin and his timeout tank. And then it says, important edit. Tank now includes Kevin's shady brother, Neil. Neil is murderous scum. No one likes Neil. I thought that was so great.
That is an awesome ad.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I liked this one too. This one is Uber alternative. And it says, screw Uber. It's Friday night. Don't drink and drive. Message me and I'll come get you in a 2000 Ford F-250 4x4 with a case of beer and a cooler in the back, blasting Skinnerd on the speakers. And I'll holler, hell yeah, brother, at everything you say. And it's a guy in a hat and he's in this pickup truck and it's like green. I thought that was so good.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And then I think there's one more that caught my eye. Let me scroll down here. Here we go. So Amanda on Craigslist, and it says, hi, I am going through a difficult breakup and impulsively adopted 16 different types of reptiles over Craigslist. I have made a huge mistake. My roommates are furious. I have one ball python, 7 various geckos, a bearded dragon, and 2 red slider turtles. They are all named Amanda. I know those were the best ones.
Those are great Craigslist ads. I like them.
Yeah, they're cute.
Very awesome. And they're all named Amanda.
And they're all named Amanda. Yeah.
I can just imagine if that is a very true Craigslist ad. All of a sudden you show up, all of a sudden you have 16 critters like that.
Well, so I have 4 cats. So I
Right.
can relate. And I was actually going through something when I got them all. I didn't realize it at the time.
Uh-huh.
And I was actually having a really stressful relationship, kind of like I had broken up with the guy that I was really in love with. And then I started dating someone that was just driving me crazy. And I don't know, I just went to town on getting all my cats. So I can relate, except mine all have different names. And, so what, like 9 years later, I mean, I'm so thankful for them and I absolutely love them all, but I would never get that many again in my life. And, I said I took on this responsibility. So that's it. I mean, they love me. I love them. We've become a family, you know, and especially
Yeah.
after having them for 9 years, there's no way that
Yeah.
we can be separated, even though they fight with each other. Like some of them don't get along, but they're family. Like we all deal with each other. And I mean, it's a lot of work. It's not
Yeah.
easy. I mean, my life is freaking cats, you know? And I mean, it's constantly cleaning litter. They're hungry all the
Yes.
time. And each one
Yes.
has like a picky, particular type of thing. And, you know, like sometimes one wants, you know, I'll be combing the hair of the one and the other one, well, me too, me too. And, you know, it's crazy. It's definitely like family dynamic in here, but with cats. So I relate to
Now,
that post. So that's why I'm like that definitely I can understand.
now, are they only indoor cats, or do they also go out?
No, they're indoor only. Um
Which I figure, right? Because if in an apartment environment, it's challenging to have them outdoors as well. No, like no pet door.
yeah, and I'm on the second floor, so it's not like
Okay.
they can just I don't know. I don't trust there's a pretty busy road near me. I don't know. I just wouldn't trust them going
Yeah.
outside. And they think they want to go outside because sometimes they will slip out and they'll get maybe about 10 steps out. And then they're like,
Hmm.
oh, I don't, this is scary. And I'm like, see, told ya. And I have tried giving that, like I had, so Taka is my oldest one and
Hmm.
he's the bigger cat of them all. And
Hmm.
I put a leash, like I had a harness,
Oh,
and
okay.
I was gonna like, oh, let's go outside, let's walk him like a dog. And as soon as I put it on, he just falls over and won't move. And I was like, oh, okay, well that's not happening. And then
Right.
I actually have like a really decent sized playpen that's for pets. And
Okay.
I thought I was gonna start this, and it never happened. I don't know why, but thought I would go to the beach and you know like take one or two cats with me
Ooh, yeah.
and set up the playpen and then kind of like let them in the playpen. And it's all enclosed, like there's no like it's all like zipped. It's like a tent kind of, but like a playpen style.
Right.
And I'm like, just to kind of get them some fresh air and be outside because I, you know, like they've been in quarantine their entire life. Is how I look at it, you know, and I know they want some fresh air sometimes. I
Yeah.
do feel bad and I wish I had like a yard that they could play around in, but you
But even
know,
then, you'd have to be careful because they can jump on the fence and they're gone.
exactly. And then you never know other animals outside and then just like fleas and stuff. So I've
Yeah.
actually prefer mine inside. And,
Yeah.
you know, when the time does come for me to have a home with a yard, I would have to supervise them. Like I would never want to be not outside with them.
Right.
I don't know. I'm too protective. I am that mom that I'm like, there's, you
Now,
know, like on perimeter that you're only allowed curfew. You're in by dinner.
right. Now I've seen it from time to time. I don't think I've seen it in a while, but mostly I used to see it with kittens where I'd see someone driving and they had a kitten on their shoulder or something. Do you drive around with your cats at all? Have you ever done that?
I had a cat a long time ago that I did that with.
Mm.
I kind of let him free for all. And actually, my one cat that I found on Craigslist,
Hmm.
he was so teeny tiny and I kind of like let him roam the car, but then he started to go towards like where your feet go in the front. There's an
Ah.
open space that he could have gotten into the engine while I'm driving. And I was like, that would be the end of Kitty. So
Yeah.
I tried to like stuff sweaters and stuff, but then he kept trying to go like in the sweaters.
Mm.
So it
Right.
was a little too, that kind of freaked me out a little bit.
Yeah.
But now I don't let them, if they're in a cage, you know, I have their little carriers that they go into
Mm.
when I need to take them to the vet or whatever.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. I feel like I don't know. They don't go. I don't really take them out that much though.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
why.
cats is challenging.
Yeah, I mean, I keep the windows open, and like luckily I have a screen door.
Right.
So
Okay.
the solid door I kind of keep open for the most part, unless it's like 200 degrees outside, because Southern California tends to get a little hot nowadays. Um,
Yes, that'll be coming
oh, I
soon.
know. I am not looking forward to it.
No.
Mm-mm. I prefer it cooler and
Yes,
hotter. But my
totally.
apartment, it can get really cold. And then in the winter, like sometimes it's freezing. So
You
I,
know, I
uh,
yeah, I don't mind that so much because you can always bundle up, or if you're
yes.
in bed, you can throw blankets on. But when it's hot, you can only do so much. And, I have an older neighbor, and, last summer he's like, yeah, oh, it's so hot. And he's older, he's retired, and he's like, oh, it's so warm. He's like, since I'm home alone, I just wander around in my underwear. Like, I was like, okay, yeah, that's cool. That's smart.
The
I
way
mean,
to do it.
yes.
Well, it's
Yeah.
surprising too, because I do have a client who is in his 80s. And when I massage him, so I've had him for over a year now. So I have like last year, I mean, I was working on him in the springtime and he still had the heater on 80. So
Wow.
I'm dying. Because I'm like,
Yes.
dude, it's like already 80 and then you have the heater on 80.
Plus, you're working on him, so you're getting warm and
Oh,
sweaty, maybe.
yeah, it can get intense. But that's, older people, they moved to Florida, right? So,
Right.
I don't know.
Exactly. I think that's a wrap. Definitely over an hour here on our podcast today.
Hmm.
And next week, who knows? Maybe we'll go down the influencer rabbit hole or something else.
I like that idea. I think that will be great because there is so much content on that. So that will be not hard to find information on. Gotta have it. Gotta have it.
Yes. Okay. Well, that was excellent. I think that might be it for possibly the therapist and the inspector. We'll see.
Yeah. Stay tuned.